Supreme Chancellor Vex Thune of the Galactic Confederation, stood before the assembled representatives of 417 different species, his 6 arms trembling as he delivered what might be civilization's final briefing. The crystalline amphitheater that housed the Grand Council buzzed with the nervous energy of beings who had just learned that their entire galaxy was doomed. "The Void Plague has consumed the Andromeda Galaxy entirely," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber's acoustic harmonics. "Our long-range sensors confirm that every star, every planet, every trace of matter has been converted into nothing. And it's spreading toward us at faster-than-light speeds." Ambassador T. Lara of the Zephyrian Union raised her elegant hand. "Surely our combined fleets can establish some form of containment? The Confederation has the most advanced technology in known space." Chancellor Vex Thune's expression was grim. "We've tried everything. The crystalline hegemony sent their reality-shaping armada. The void consumed it. The psionic collective attempted to establish mental barriers across 3 star systems. The plague absorbed their consciousness itself. Even the ancient architects emerged from their 1,000-year isolation to deploy their planet-killer weapons. Nothing worked. The chamber erupted in panicked discussion across dozens of different languages and communication methods. Bioluminescent patterns flashed, harmonic frequencies shifted, and pheromone clouds drifted between the various species' seating areas. "How long do we have?" asked General Korth of the warrior caste, his massive frame radiating the barely controlled aggression his people were known for. "At current expansion rates, the Void Plague will reach the Outer Rim territories in 14 standard cycles. The core worlds will fall within 36 cycles." Vex Thune paused, letting the weight of those words settle. "We are facing the complete extinction of all matter and energy in this galaxy." It was then that an unexpected transmission crackled through the chamber's communication systems, a signal from the far rim, from a sector that most civilized species considered too primitive to merit attention. "Galactic Confederation, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Star Force," came a voice speaking in heavily accented but precise galactic standard. "We've been monitoring your discussions about the Void Plague. With respect, we think we can help." The chamber fell into stunned silence. The Sol system home to the legendary Deathworlders, who had only recently made contact with galactic civilization. Most council members knew them only through whispered stories of their military interventions in rim conflicts. Chancellor Vex Thune activated the main communications array. "Admiral Chen, while we appreciate any offer of assistance, this threat is beyond conventional military solutions. We're facing a cosmic phenomenon that destroys matter at the quantum level." "Understood, Chancellor," Chen replied. "But with respect, we've been fighting impossible odds since before we left our homeworld. We'd like permission to study this Void Plague firsthand." "Admiral, you don't understand," interrupted Dr. Yithkol, the Confederation's chief scientist. "This isn't a military problem. This is physics itself being rewritten. The most advanced civilizations in the galaxy have failed to even slow it down." "Doctor, you're absolutely right," Chen agreed. "This isn't a military problem. It's an engineering problem. And humans are very good at engineering solutions to things that want to kill us." 3 standard days later, a human fleet arrived at the edge of Void Plague expansion zone. But these weren't the warships that had become humanity's calling card across the galaxy. These vessels were massive industrial platforms, construction ships, and what appeared to be mobile factories. The assembled representatives of the Galactic Confederation watched through long-range sensors as the humans did something unprecedented. They began building a structure directly in the path of the advancing void. "What are they constructing?" Ambassador T. Yara asked, her voice filled with amazement. Dr. Yithkol's multiple eyes were focused on his analytical displays. "It appears to be a containment field of some kind. but the power requirements would be astronomical. No single civilization has ever generated that much energy. They're not using a single civilization's technology, observed General Korth, with grudging respect. They're somehow combining power generation methods from dozens of different species. I'm seeing crystalline matrix cores, psionic amplifiers, even ancient architect quantum tap technology. What the humans had done was study every failed attempt to stop the void plague and reverse engineer a solution that combined the best elements of each approach. Where individual civilizations had tried to overpower the phenomenon, humans had created a system that redirected it. The device they constructed was larger than most moons, an impossible fusion of technologies that should have been incompatible. It worked on a principle that no single species had considered. Instead of fighting the void plague's consumption of matter, they created a controlled pathway that channeled its energy into an alternate dimensional space. "The field is activating," Dr. Yithkol reported, his voice filled with awe. They're actually containing it. The void plague is being redirected into what appears to be an artificially created pocket universe. On the main display, the galaxy watched as the impossible happened. The advancing wall of nothingness that had consumed Andromeda struck the human containment field and simply stopped. The energy that had been annihilating matter was being siphoned off and contained. Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication array. "Galactic Confederation. This is Admiral Chen. The immediate threat has been neutralized. We're establishing permanent monitoring stations to ensure containment integrity." Chancellor Vex Thuan found himself speechless for several moments before managing. "Admiral, how? How did you know this would work?" "Chancellor, we've been dealing with extinction-level events since before recorded history," Chen replied matter-of-factly. "Ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts, global wars. Our homeworld has tried to kill us in pretty much every way imaginable. We learned early that when something threatens your existence, you don't just fight it. You figure out how to make it work for you." The chamber remained silent as the implications sank in. The Deathworlders hadn't just saved the galaxy, they had done it by approaching an impossible problem with the same pragmatic ingenuity that had allowed them to survive on one of the most hostile planets in known space. "There is one thing, though," Chen added. "We're going to need some help setting up long-term maintenance protocols. This containment system will need monitoring for the next few thousand years." "Hope that's not a problem." As various species began volunteering resources and personnel for the maintenance project, Vex Thuan realized that the galaxy had just learned something fundamental about the humans. They weren't just warriors or rescuers, they were survivors who had turned survival itself into an art form. The Deathworlders had saved the galaxy, and in doing so, had taught the rest of civilization what it truly meant to refuse to accept defeat.